Hey kids, Walter Community College here. Today we'll be talking about people accusing Trump of being a fascist or even a Nazi. Now, not only is this completely inaccurate to what Trump believes, but it's also dangerous and offensive. For one, Trump isn't a fascist. He's an authoritarian, he's a corrupt politician, he's a bad president, but he's not a fascist. This labeling is used against Republican presidents a lot. It was used against George Bush by his opponents, and it was used by Reagan's opponents. People, you can look into 2000s and the 80s, there were people calling these presidents fascists. But no one in the modern day would think of these guys as fascists. I'm not saying Trump's a good politician or a president. I don't believe that one bit, and I think he's a very bad president, the worst president of the 21st century. But he's not a fascist, and he's definitely not a Nazi. And the fact that people call him a fascist without caring about what that word means is really offensive to the people that actually suffered under fascist and Nazi regimes. To the millions of people that suffered, to the millions that died. And you're trying to equate your struggles with disliking the current president with Nazi Germany, fascist Italy, fascist Japan. It's just not nearly equal. Trump's not doing anything good for the nation. But to try to equate that to something completely evil, downright evil, is insane. Trump is an authoritarian and corrupt politician. That he's a grifter and he's senile. He doesn't have a belief system. Whatever he thinks will get him elected, he'll follow that policy. I wouldn't be surprised if there's an alternate timeline that's not that different from our own, where Trump's like a communist figure, like a left-wing figure, just because things ended up differently, and he thought that aligning with the left would get him more votes and get him into power. It is seriously insane the amount of people that'll take the accusation of being a fascist and just levy it against anyone and everyone they disagree with. Like I said, this isn't only with Trump, it's just with any right-wing president. And I'm pretty sure in other countries, leftists do the same thing too. They just call anyone that is right to the right of them a fascist. What is the point of that? Is it to make words meaningless? Be real here. What does fascism mean? Just think to yourself for a second. If you thought Trump is a fascist, or anyone similar to Trump is a fascist, what do you think the word fascist means? Now, we can go on defining what fascism really is, but that's not what I'm here to do today. I just think it's extremely inappropriate for people to be calling someone a fascist because they're doing it because they want to equate themselves to living under an authoritarian regime that where they're miserable, but in reality they still have a privileged first world lifestyle. So what really is the point? They want to feel like a victim. It's a victim complex that these people have. People on the left love having a victim complex, and it's why we lose elections. You resort to having a victim complex instead of actual powerful rhetoric that gets people in support of you. It works sometimes. It worked in 2020. No one liked Trump. But he's definitely not the worst president, I'd say. We're not living in a country where the quality of life is anywhere near as bad as actual fascist nations. Alright. I can say for certain that the vast majority of Americans still have a pretty good life in comparison to the vast majority of the world. There are very few places in the world that on average have a better quality of life than the United States. Yeah, things are kind of bad. The economy is getting worse. Trump's doing some questionable things. but he's definitely not a fascist. He's more like the average corrupt politician from 100 years ago. You can go back 100 years and you can find similar corrupt policies all over the country. Was the majority of the country fascist back in the 1920s? Or even in the 1800s? A lot of Trump's policies are just taking shit from the 1800s and applying it to the modern day. It is really not that complicated. He's not a fascist. He's not the worst president. And it's completely ignorant to try to equate him to anything like that. So, please, just for a second, think about the words you say and what exactly they mean. WCC out.